2015. Our tradition is to present an invocation and a pledge prior to calling our meeting officially to order. Tonight, the invocation is going to be presented by a dear old friend, Father Giorgio. I'm so sorry. I practiced that all day long today. From Holy Transfiguration Greek Orthodox Church in East Cobb. We're so glad you're with us again tonight. That'll be followed by the pledge led by Deputy Brent Floyd, who has been with the Cobb County Sheriff's Office since February 2014. He is assigned to the Detention Division. Deputy Floyd is the second generation to work for the Sheriff's Office. His father retired after 25 years of service, and we're glad, Deputy, that you're with us today as well. For those that wish to do so, please rise for the invocation and the pledge.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. O Heavenly King, comforter, the Spirit of truth, present in all places and filling all things, the treasury of blessings and the giver of life, come and dwell in us and cleanse us from every stain and save our souls, a good one. Holy God, holy mighty, holy immortal, have mercy on us. Holy God, holy mighty, holy immortal, have mercy on us. Holy God, holy mighty, holy immortal, have mercy on us. We offer thanksgiving to you, O Lord, for all your gifts and blessings. We humbly come to you and ask that you may send upon us your heavenly Spirit to enlighten our hearts and minds. Give us of your wisdom and knowledge. Help us to know your will for your people whom we serve. Guide us in all our decisions to do what is best for them. Help us to shine with your love and compassion. Grant us your peace and love, patience and prudence. For glorified is your holy name, of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, now and always, and unto the ages of ages. Amen.
If everyone would please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Father, and thank you, Deputy, for being with us tonight. We will call this meeting officially to order. Earlier this afternoon, the Commission went through tabs 1, tabs 2, tab 3, and tab 4, and we begin our evening tonight with tab 5. We're going to, the items are presented obviously in 1, 2, 3, and 4, but we're going to take the second item first and then follow with item 1, then item 3, and then item 4. So we'd like to call Samuel and Diego. Nathan, no, that's sorry. We want to present certificates of recognition to Tim Crumpler and John, Boy Scout Troop 702. Are you folks, you guys with us? Come on up, guys. Is your family and scout guys and all that here with us? Troop leader, anyone? Moms, dads. So come over here and stand around and face this group. I want you guys to take a look at number 1 and number 1, Eagle Scout from Troop 702, right? Out of Powder Springs. Powder Springs what? What's the name of the church? Oh.
It's Macklin Presbyterian.
They're not twins, but, you know. Hey, Macklin Presbyterian. I had the honor of, not too long ago, going to their Court of Honor, and what a great event it was. First of all, you guys, number 1 and number 2. Well, there is no 1 and number 2. It's number 1 and number 1. The next Eagle will be number 3. That's what they kind of agreed to. They came through. They're the first 2 to come through. Extraordinary stories, and the Court of Honor was just extraordinary. I scared them both to death because I was fortunate enough to present them with their pens, who they then penned their parents with. Remember that? Yeah, we remember that, yeah. So we have certificates of appreciation for you, but I'd like to tell you just what you'd like to tell the group is your names, again, and what your Eagle Scout project was, and we'll go from there, okay?
I'm Timothy Crumpler, and my Eagle project was building new rifle racks for Phoenix Police Department for their shooting range.
My name is John Erskine, and my Eagle project was expanding my Injera TC area or workout area at Kennesaw Mountain High School.
That's great. So, Chief, if we need a rifle rack, this has got a call here. We appreciate it. So we'd like to present you with these certificates of appreciation. We are so honored that you guys chose scouting and that you chose to stick with it long enough to get your Eagle. We're very proud of you. We know because you have your Eagle that you both will amount to just wonderful gentlemen and terrific leaders in our community. We appreciate and applaud you very much. And we thank the moms for being there and making sure that they help complete their project and the support of them. And I know there's a couple dads standing in the back too somewhere. So congratulations, Guy. I believe that one's yours, and that one's yours. If you flip it open, we'll take a picture, and you guys can be on your way tonight, okay? Item 1, which is number 2.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Now I have the honor of presenting Eagle Scout Award certificates to 5 Eagle Scouts from Troop 008. So if you would come up and your families, we'd like to recognize you at this time. Okay, y'all have to line up in order of my folders here. I'm kidding. So I know most of you in the audience know what it means to be an Eagle Scout and the hard work and hours that they put into these projects to obtain this highest ranking achievement in Boy Scouts. So the first certificate goes to Matthew Martrat. That's Matthew at the end. And I'm going to pass this around and let you tell us a little bit more about your project. But you did a project in coordination with Must Ministries, correct? Okay. Here is your certificate. And next, I'm going to do the 2 brothers together because your project was together, right? Oh, it wasn't? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Kennesaw Mountain. That's what threw me. Okay. Well, Samuel. You. Are you the oldest? Okay. Kennesaw Mountain, Battlefield, and Diego Quiroz, Kennesaw Mountain Battlefield. And we have Nathan Sanders Devon, who did his project at McCluskey Middle School. And Carter Peterson is not here tonight. He's has another activity, band or something. Lasser High School marching band. But his mom is going to accept his award and tell us a little bit about his project that was benefiting the Episcopal Church of the Annunciation. So do you want to go first, and then I'll turn it over to the boys?
That would be great. Okay, my son Carter, upon the request of his church, they asked that he build a fire pit for fellowship, and we leveled the ground, we built the pit, and it is all cemented in, and it turned out great, and they've been using it, and they're very happy.
Great. You want to tell us about your project?
Okay. I'm Sam Quiroz, and my project was building and placing trail markers to mark distances at Kennesaw Mountain.
I'm Diego, and my project was building 6 signs that it showed the areas of the battles in the Civil War in Kennesaw Mountain Battlefield Park.
I'm Nathan Devan, and my projects were 3 picnic tables at McCluskey Middle School for the outdoor skills area.
Hi, my name is Matt Martrat. My project was I hosted a benefit concert for Must Ministries, and I raised over 1,200 canned goods for Must Ministries they'll use to aid the homeless throughout Georgia.
Great job. I know proud of you. Do y'all want to say anything? No? Just that you're proud. And where do y'all meet? I know it's in my district, but is it the Methodist Church, Wesley Chapel? Yeah, I thought. Near Mabry Park. Right, near Mabry Park. Okay, well, Mabry Park's going to open soon. So, soon. So, the guys in the troop that haven't made Eagle, we need them to help Mabry Park get going, okay? Okay. Thank you for being here, and congratulations on this wonderful honor. Okay, now you'll be in my newsletter on Friday. I would like to ask all the commissioners, and Roland Craig is here from the Sheriff's Office, and Chief Hauser, Jeff Patelis, and Captain Height, and the family of Officer Joe Figueroa. Would you please join us? And Joan Bloom, would you like to come up too? Where is she? Oh. Thank you all for being here. And I'd also like to recognize all the officers that are here to honor Joe. He was a Marine for 20 years. He was a Cobb County police officer for 13 years, I think, 13 years. And also served at the Sheriff's Office after he left the county. And he passed away, and his mom is here, his sisters, his children, big family, and his wife. Yeah, I'm sorry. And we just wanted to take this opportunity to thank him, his family, for giving him to us for service for so many years, and also to recognize him. So with that, I'm Commissioner Weatherford. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm here somewhere.
Would you like to read the proclamation?
Sure, thank you. Whereas Joseph Henry Figueroa III honorably served his country in the United States Marine Corps for 20 years, 6 months, and 17 days, and was a Gulf War veteran, and worked as aircraft maintenance engineer officer, reaching the rank of Chief Warrant Officer 3, and while he served in the Marine Corps, he received many awards, including the Navy Achievement Medal 3 times, Good Conduct Medal 4 times, Armed Forces Expedition Medal, Meritorious Service Medal, Sea Service Deployment Ribbon 4 times, National Defense Service Meritorious Unit Commendation 2 times, Letter of Commendation, Certificate of Commendation, Meritorious Mask, and Letter of Appreciation 4 times. And he served honorably as a police officer with the Cobb County Police from October 15, 2001 to August 30, 2014. Received a life-saving award from the Cobb County Police Department in 2004. A member of the Cobb County PD Crisis Negotiation Team, and he was a Cobb County PD Class President for his mandate class 2007. And when he transferred the Cobb County Police Department to the Cobb Sheriff's Office in 2014, he served as a Cobb County Deputy Sheriff until his untimely death November 25th, 2014. Dedicated husband to his wife Sue Ellen for more than 31 years, a devoted father to Bree and Joseph, a brother to Sharon and his son, and son to Donna Figueroa. Now we, the Cobb County Board of Commissioners, do hereby honor Joseph Henry Figueroa III for his decades of service to his family, community, and our nation. He has set an example for all of us to follow. 20th day of July, 2015.
We thank you for being here, and we appreciate you giving us your son and your husband and father for so many years. And he is an example of what he emulates a police officer. And unfortunately, they don't get the respect they deserve all the time, but we do honor him and respect him and are glad we had this opportunity to recognize him and y'all be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the family has asked if the police officers and family and friends that are here for Officer Figueroa tonight, there's a little reception in the Learning Center if you'd like to stop by and talk to them. Thank you.
Item 4, Commissioner.
Good evening again, everyone. I'd like to ask the Northeast Cobb Business Association and my favorite, the K-9 unit, to please come forward with Diesel. He's not here? Where's my doggy? There he is.
All right.
Okay. Well, in 2006, as a charter member of the Northeast Cobb Business Association and chair of the Neighborhood Safety Commission, I spearheaded an effort to raise funds for a new police dog. And with the money that we raised and some money that was confiscated by the police, we actually got 2 dogs, but Diesel's still with us. It's my buddy. He's been at both of my swearing-ins, so if I go again, we'll have to bring him out of retirement. So this year, the Northeast Cobb Business Association, who's represented here tonight by the president, Frank Wigington, the education chair, Steve Crowley, and Julie Hale, who was the event coordinator for the 5K9 race that raised $15,000 for a new police dog when Diesel retires. So we're here tonight to present the check to the K9 unit. And do I tell them what happened to the first check? Okay, anyhow. And we just want to thank you for all your service. Our four-legged officers are the best. And for the sponsors, we had several sponsors, and our presenting sponsor was Cobb EMC. We had the Braves. We had, well, I have a T-shirt that shows all the sponsors. But we really want to thank our sponsors for stepping up and raising so much money that we went over our goal, and they'll be able to get a new police officer. No one can replace Diesel, but this dog will replace Diesel when he retires. And all the sponsors that gave $500 or more that participated received a canine stuffed toy. So, and the police chaplains are selling these for $10. So if you want to order one, let me know. So, Frank, do you want to say a few words? And Julie or Steve?
Well, we have to thank our sponsors. I'll tell you, when the call went out, it's one of the easiest things that we've ever done, I think, and probably the most fun event that we have ever put on at Northeast Cobb. Commissioner Burrow had to go back several times to get more of those little stuffed dogs because we had so many people give $500 or more that she had to go back. Cobb EMC, Metro Ambulance, Superior Plumbing, Jay Cunningham even sent his dog out as the Petey was our grand marshal mascot. We just had so many, Six Flags, the Braves, Northeast Cobb and the entire county turned out, and we are so appreciative, and it is well, to say thank you just seems so inadequate. We talked about that, but we would like to say thank you to the Cobb Police and K-9. We plan to do this again, and there's going to be other law enforcement recipients of this. I will have to tell you that our district attorney, Mr. Reynolds, really got behind this and sent a huge team of runners out. It was a lot of fun. I'll have to tell you, it was a lot of fun, and for me it was great because it was over by 11 o'clock and we were home, so I really enjoyed that. But Julie Hales, our coordinator, she put this whole thing together. She should be the one who gets the most thanks out of our group. I'll have to say that. Steve Crawley and I we're partners in crime in this this organization, and we appreciate the opportunity to give back this little amount. Thank you so much.
Chief Hauser, will you accept this check?
Absolutely. Happy to. And I do want to say I appreciate Diesel not biting the commissioner when you reach down to but no,
I'm glad he didn't arrest her.
No, but we do appreciate the support. The K-9 officers do a great job. And with all the craziness that's going on with military and law enforcement across the country, I just want to say thank you to the commissioners and everybody in the room for your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
He might bite you, Frank. He might get you.
Well, so good to see you. Thank you all. It takes us to tab 6, SunTrust Park update. Mr. Hankerson, County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the board. I want to present a construction update on SunTrust Park. Right now, we're having weekly owner architect contract meetings, and those go on every week and get updates to make sure everything's still on track. The building permit has been secured and installation of fire protection approved for the field level only. We're waiting supplemental information to release the balance of the building. There's no lost time, no accidents 425,000 man-hours worked. The scoreboard has been procured, slab on grade to be completed by July 31st. Average 413 workers on site, 425,000 man-hours as of 7/22. The next, we've got Rob Hosack, who's always fascinated about this 3 million gallon storm retention pond. It was started July the 17th. Contractors closed a section of Circle 75 for sewer line installation. This work will continue for 2 to 3 weeks. The contractor has been in touch with Cobb DOT and Cobb Police to secure the traffic safety is a top priority. As for grading and construction, appears to be all on schedule. Erosion and sedimentation and water quality best practice is in place. This will give an overall view. It's amazing how, if you stay away 2 or 3 weeks, how much the site changed from week to week. And now we see the circle is being completed there. So there's a lot of things happening on this site now. They also mark materials for the stone, the brick, and the glass frames, and the precast has all been approved. So this is a mock-up of that for the materials for that particular site. We also have a panoramic view, which we have 4 tower cranes and 6 other cranes. It's different other type things that are coming up on the particular site. So a lot of activity. Our police department is still looking at safety on the site. They continue to meet with the Braves on a regular basis for SunTrust Park and also the mixed-use development. In July, Chief Hauser and Chief Prince attended a 2015 National Sports Safety and Security Conference in Orlando, Florida. During that event, they met with different sports venues and event operation managed security, safety staff, first responders, and all that for the Major League Basketball, Baseball, NFL, and NCAA stadiums from across the country. So they continue to educate themselves and be prepared for that opening day. The only other thing is the Chipper Jones Give Back program. The Braves renovated a field in East Cobb back in January on a windy, chilly, rainy day, but it was a successful event. But they've agreed to renovate so many fields a year, but 2 in Cobb. And the second one is renovated in Cobb, where the first one was at Fuller. The next one will be at Powder Springs Park. And they plan to get that started pretty soon and have a ribbon cutting on August 15th at 10 a.m. to renovate that field. Mr. Chairman, I was able to get that information late, about 6:30. So that's on target, and they are ready to go, so that one will be in that one. With that, Mr. Chairman, that is a quick update on these.
Terrific, thank you.
SunTrust Park.
It's good to see the Leon Brains Foundation coming out and renovating our youth field, so that's very greatly appreciated. Any questions or comments from the board?
What's that one gonna be called?
I don't know. I don't know that, Commissioner. We'll find out. I didn't know they gave it a name.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, they're all Chipper Jones. Okay, sorry.
So this takes us to tab 7. We have one item, the water system. Director McCullers.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. County Manager, here tonight to request that you hold a public hearing related to our intention to hire a firm to provide design and construction services for improvements to the Clark Creek, Indian Creek, and North by Northwest pump stations.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we will open up the public hearing for the design and construction services for the Cobb County Water Systems Capital Improvement Program. Anybody wishing to speak for or against this particular item, please come forward at this time. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Seeing and hearing none, the public hearing is closed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Director. That takes us to tab 8, Cobb County Transportation. One item.
Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners, and County Manager, we ask that you conduct a public hearing prior to expending $100,000 or more to secure engineering design services for Mableton Parkway pedestrian improvements, Interstate North Parkway at Interstate North Circle intersection improvements, and I-75 at Third Army Road interchange. We should also note on this public hearing tonight that there was a question brought to our attention from a citizen, and we will be, in addition to the public hearing that was already publicized tonight, we will be holding another public hearing on August the 25th so that we make sure that we meet all of the advertising requirements fully for the public hearing, sir.
Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to open a public hearing for the secure engineering design services of the Mapleton Parkway pedestrian improvements, Interstate North Parkway, at Interstate North Circle, and I-75 at Third Army Road interchange. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this item, please come forward at this time. Seeing and hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Thank you, Director. Tab 9, Community Development. Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, Chairman Dana Johnson, Cobb County Community Development, here to present to you the July code amendments for 2015. These, again, I will go through a brief presentation to show what amendments were in this particular code package. These are in numerical order for the board and for the public's review. Before we go in, there are a few of these amendments that were amended from the last hearing. Those include amendments to 2-46D, 134-94, 134-273, two of those in 134-273. These were distributed to all individuals interested in receiving this on July 22nd. Getting into the specific amendments, we have one for 2-46, which is clarification in the language as it relates to impropriety in the Code of Ethics. 2-76 establishes subpoena powers for the Board of Ethics. These are both on page 1. On page 1 and 2, we have 2-180, which are minor amendments to the film permit ordinance to provide clarity to that particular regulation. 6-1 establishes a new definition for alcoholic beverage catering. That is on page 2. On 6-91, 692, 94, and 96, these are all clarifications and revisions to the alcoholic beverage application requirements. Those are on pages 2-4. 6-106 is clarification to the language related to the entity and person that sold alcohol to an underage or intoxicated person. That is located on page 4. 6-116 is clarification related to wholesale distributors, page 5. On 6-118, which is page 5 as well, clarification on the denials of a license. 6-124 are exempting residences within mixed-use developments and wholesale distributors from the residential distance requirements. That's on pages 5 and 6. 6-125 is exempting wholesale distributors from the county distance requirements as well, on page 6. 6-180 is a new code creating a license for alcoholic beverage catering. It's on page 6. 6-181 is a new code requiring catering permits to receive a special event permit, pages 6 and 7. 6-182 is a new code requiring special event permitting for nonprofit civic organizations, on page 7. 6-207 is clarification on work permits, pages 7 and 8. 18-1, 2, and 38 are all deletions of requirements and reference to code compliance bonds. That's on pages 8 to 11. 18-121, 122, 146, 166, 211, 232, and 256 are all revisions of references to the International Building Code, pages 11 and 13. 18-257 is deletion and clarification of local amendments to the International Building Code, pages 13 and 14. 18-271, 272, 273, 74, 75, 76, and 77 are all deletions of low-flow fixture requirements from the Plumbing Code, pages 14 to 16. 50-258 is a new code providing clarification to the noise ordinance regarding activities permitted by law, page 16. 78-95 is alteration to the definition of mobile food vendors and the creation of a new definition for mobile food events, on page 17. 78-96 is clarification on the process for receiving a permit for a mobile food vendor, page 17. 78-97, 98, 99, and 100 are all clarifications on the mobile food vendor operations, pages 18 to 20. 78-114 are revisions to language regarding the time period for door-to-door sales permits, page 20. 102-5 is alterations to the definition of recyclable materials and recycling on page 20. 126.116 to 126.172 are deletions and revisions to the Vehicles for Hire chapter to come into compliance with recent changes to state law. All of these became effective on July 1st of this year, pages 20 to 34. 134-1 is a new definition for mobile food vendors and modification to the definition of single-family dwelling units and temporary uses. This is in the zoning code, page 34 and 35. 134-94 are amendments to the powers of the Board of Zoning Appeals, page 35. 134-271 is a companion amendment that goes with 94 regarding these exemptions for lot size and road frontage variances, page 35 and 36. 134-273 are revisions to the language regarding fall zone requirements required for cell towers, page 36. And finally, 134-273 are revisions to the language for tower compound areas regarding cell towers so they can come into compliance with state and with federal law. That's on page 36. With this, we'll be happy to take any questions the board may have. We would ask for you to please open up the second public hearing in regard to this. And at the conclusion of that public hearing, the board may desire to make any decisions as it relates to the codes today.
Thank you, Dana. Is there any comment from the board before we begin before we have the public hearing?
No, just, did you want to read the changes that were made since the last, or the specific ones, or do we wait till after the public hearing?
If you would like me to do that, I'll be happy to.
Okay, well, in particular, 134-273, we were gonna read into the record. Okay. So you can just do that after the comments, I guess.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So we'll open the public hearing now for the code amendment item being presented. Anyone wishing to speak for or have a comment regarding the code amendments, please come forward at this time. Each speaker will have 3 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'm Lynn Rainey. I'm general counsel to the Cobb County Board of Ethics. After the Board of Ethics conducted a hearing last November, it became evident that a subsection of the Cobb County Code of Ethics was in need of clarification. So the parties, both those contemplating whether to bring complaints and those who have to answer those complaints, could understand what standards apply to a commissioner's conduct. Accordingly, in our May meeting, the Board of Ethics requested revisions to the Cobb County Code of Ethics. Specifically, it had to do with Section 2-46D, which read, officers by their conduct should avoid the appearance of impropriety and shall not allow the impression that any person could or can improperly influence them or unduly enjoy their favor in the performance of their official acts or duties. We felt like that was, as was evident in the hearing, too subjective. It was my opinion that the impropriety section or the impropriety standard was a separate concept from the improper influence standard and should be split out. So in order to clarify that section, the language that we are proposing that the Board of Commissioners pass to amend 2-46D to read, officers shall not allow any person to improperly influence them or unduly enjoy their favor in the performance of their official acts or duties. This takes out words such as impression or appearances and gets to the core of it, and that is the conduct. We did not want to dispose of completely the language having to do with the appearance of impropriety, So we recommended moving that part of 2-46D to the end of 2-42A, and that's a request I'm making specifically today that wasn't previously, I think, in the previous hearing. And so we're asking that it be placed in that section because that section 2-42 is the declaration of the policy behind the Code of Ethics. We don't believe that avoiding the officers by the conduct should avoid the appearance of impropriety is a standard by which anybody can be judged finally or found in violation of the Code of Ethics. We believe the word appearance nips around the edges of impropriety, but we do think it's a standard and an aspiration that still should exist in the code so that nobody misunderstands and believes that the code is somehow being lessened. We believe that it's being toughened through these proposed changes. And then finally, we're asking for subpoena power. This is something that's been discussed at the Board of Ethics for a number of years, and so it came to fruition when we decided to ask the Commission for the change to 2-46. So we're asking the additional power to subpoena. The language that's contained allowing us to have subpoena power is essentially the same as the Cobb County Civil Service Board has at this point. It does add one thing, though, that is not in that other section, and that is the last sentence, that such subpoena power shall be limited to the board and its legal counsel and not subject to the request of any party. The reason for that is we didn't want to leave open a situation where someone filed a complaint simply for the purpose of gaining subpoena power, and we think that would simply invite chaos, to be frank with you, if we left it that way. So we, in this code, are requesting that the subpoena power be left to the board in its investigatory powers to subpoena documentary and other evidence. The question has been raised as to, well, what if the Board of Ethics, people aren't pleased by what the Board of Ethics subpoenas, and please let it be known that the Superior Court oversees this, that if we issue a subpoena and it's not being complied with, the Board of Ethics can request the Superior Court to enforce it, and if an individual or an entity is not pleased with the issuance of a subpoena, then upon written motion to the Superior Court, it can be quashed or modified if it's unreasonable or oppressive, or if it doesn't comply with the responsibilities of the Board of Ethics, and that is that the request for production be this is a quote from the language we're requesting, that it be necessary to enable the board to carry out its duties. That is the limits to which the subpoena power would be allowed. So happy to answer any questions that might be asked and get down as deep in the weeds as you want to, but I may have gotten deeper than I should have already. So,
no, I appreciate the input. We with the last hearing, there were some questions brought up by the board and the community, so you brought some clarity as to the intent and some of the rationale and some of the issues that were brought up. So I appreciate it, Counselor, very much. Does the board
we think it clarifies and strengthens the Code of Ethics.
And we're all for that. Thank you.
All right.
Next speaker, please.
Good evening. I'm Carol Brown with Canton Road Neighbors. I'm a former member of the Ethics Board. I just want to speak briefly on the amendment to the Code of Ethics. I support Section 2-46 impartiality. I feel like this makes a clear and unequivocal statement. It sort of gets rid of any doubt or confusion that might arise from the previous wording. And also I recall that during my term from 2006 to 2009, the subpoena power was just being discussed even then. And I feel that this would enable the board to carry out its duties, and I think it also might tend to make people stop and think twice before bringing forward complaints that might be frivolous or politically motivated. So I do support 2-76. Finally, Chapter 50, the article on noise, item D, this article shall not apply to any activity otherwise permitted by law. I just want to make the general comment that OCGA 41-1-1 defines a nuisance as anything that causes hurt, inconvenience, or damage to another, and the fact that the act done may be otherwise lawful shall not keep it from being a nuisance. And I just want to comment that I think that there are situations, and my neighborhood has experienced one very recently, in which something that may be lawful can be abused. In the case of noise, there is already too little support available in the county code to offer a remedy to the public. And I'm afraid that item D may make matters worse. So I would oppose that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jill Flam, and I'm presenting East Cobb Civic Association's recommendation on Section 2-76, page 1 of the proposed code amendments concerning subpoena powers. When we appeared before the Board of Commissioners 2 weeks ago, we asked some questions that to date have not been answered. We still feel that this code change imposes an undue burden on anyone subpoenaed who is not the complaining party. They would have to bear the expense of time away from work, vacations, and family, not only for appearances before the board, but for searching for the requested documents, and also the outlay of personal money for attorney's fees to make sure their rights are not violated. We have asked when these subpoenas would be issued and how much time will a person be given to respond to them. We have not been given an answer to that question. Other boards hear complaints from citizens regarding various Cobb County departments. Should the BZA be granted the same powers on zoning cases? We feel the granting of subpoena powers could easily get out of hand. Once again, while ECCA feels that the Ethics Board provides a needed watchdog service to Cobb County residents, it already costs the taxpayer money each time an ethics complaint is filed. We are now asking individual citizens to bear the additional costs of responding to subpoenas issued by the board on complaints they are not a party to. We still recommend either limiting the subpoena power to the parties involved in the case and adding a time frame that subpoenas can be issued, or the withdrawal of this code amendment. We also want to thank the commissioners for the proposed revisions made to Section 134-273 cell towers in the last 2 weeks. ECCA supports these revisions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jill. Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please. Seeing and hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Commissioners, let's go through this carefully and slowly. It's important that whatever we comment and whatever changes we make, that the clerk's allowed to capture it accurately. Absolutely, Commissioner.
Dana.
Sir.
Ms. Brown brought up the issue about number 50. Could you explain to the board what exactly this change is kind of targeted towards, or what are we trying to address here by putting this in here?
This request was made by one of our judges who handles fireworks issues. And so this is being brought forward to deal with the recent approval and enabling fireworks to be bought, sold, and used with definitive timeframes defined in state law.
Okay, well, we're not going to talk about all the emails we got after the 4th. Do you think that maybe it needs to be more specific? I mean, if that's what it's for, because this is a pretty broad statement.
I think one way, sir, you could tighten it up a little bit is by inserting the words, let me get specific here for you real quick. Hold on 1 second, sir. You could say something along the lines of, this article shall not apply to any activity otherwise permitted by state or federal law. And that would take local, if something is allowed by local code, it would still be covered by the nuisance ordinance. But if something is permitted by state or federal law, like the ability for an individual to use fireworks, it would be covered by that.
Right, because technically the way the legislature wrote the law on the fireworks, the time, I think, goes till 2 or 3 in the morning. So then it technically does not count as noise, right?
We would not be, and I'll defer to the county attorney, but my understanding of it is that I don't think we can bring noise complaints against someone lawfully using fireworks.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I would just suggest we take the advice from Ms. Johnson.
Well, while we're talking about that particular, I mean, I also received some complaints. I suspect the desire for fireworks is quieted down a little bit, no pun intended, since the 4th of July. No doubt will erupt again during New Year's Eve. But and I don't mind making this change as recommended. We should know, though, and you're going to love the state legislators for this, but my understanding through the authors of that they're going to deal with it again this fall or the next spring and change it again. So we'll be back in July modifying it to reflect whatever they change again in state law. So just keep your eye on that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Burrow, you want to bring forward your thoughts and comments?
Sure. We all received the language, but for the Code Amendment 134-273, we're amending that to read, any compound expansion should be planned so it does not get any closer to residentially used property than the original tower compound, and the appropriate required and/or approved buffers, landscaping, excuse me, and fencing shall be reinstalled on the perimeter of the compound if applicable, subject to the district commissioner and county arborist approval. I'm sorry, something's that's it.
Okay. May I have that, please? Thank you. Staff's comments on that recommendation?
We're supportive of that recommendation, sir.
So would that follow the text that's presented as double underline under D?
That's correct. So after the word applicable, we would just add a comma and then the words subject to district commissioner and county arborist approval.
Thank you. Commissioner Weatherford.
The only comment, Mr. Chairman, is that regarding the ethics changes, I believe that the ethics boards themselves has requested this, as well as their attorney, who is well respected in the field, and I think that they're the subject matter experts, and I concur with what their recommendations are.
Thank you. Can we go back to 134-273, the cell tower? I want to make sure I understand what you've written.
Well, I actually, if I may, read the whole thing, but what we added was just the underlined part is what was added since the last public hearing.
Correct, Commissioner.
Sorry.
No, that's I'm going to a different paragraph.
Oh, okay.
So paragraph 5, I want to make sure I understand what you're saying based on what I'm reading. As the county manager and I often comment, I know what you said, but it may not be what I heard. it says, notwithstanding the above provisions, blah, blah, blah. The second line is designed with a break point, where the tower is designed with a break point. The fall zone setback may be reduced to the equivalent of the measurement from the base of the tower to the break point.
Yes, sir.
So you're assuming that the base to the break point is greater than the break point to the top of the tower.
It has more to deal with what occurs at a breakpoint, sir. So if you have a tower that is standing and something occurs where the tower would somehow fail, the breakpoint the top of the tower would collapse in on itself. Therefore, the fall zone requirement that we need to look at would be from the base of the tower to that breakpoint, because that would be the part where you could have some other type of failure, sir.
And that assumes, again, that from the ground to the break point is a greater distance from the break point to the top of the tower. Okay. What if it's the other way around? Then it wouldn't be reduced, right?
It wouldn't be. The breakpoint would have not operated as designed.
Mr. Chairman, that's kind of where the other change that came in and said may further include a safety factor of up to 10%.
Right.
That was kind of the pad.
I get it. I get
Yeah,
it.
so if we
Thank
had
you.
something different.
No, I get it. I just want to make sure that I was reading what you were out, because for some reason I've gotten backwards on this one. So let me bring to you one other request, commissioners, and there's been some focus recently in some code enforcement, which I'd like Dana to talk a little bit more about. But on 134-1, which is page 35, line 5, where we reference including OSC overlay districts as it relates to the paragraph that speaks to the vehicles per square foot standards, we'd like to strike the words including OSC overlay districts from that text. Dana, could you just expand a little bit of history on that, please?
Yes, sir. Anytime we're running codes, we are trying to create a balance between two different factors. In this case, when we were looking at putting this particular code in place as it relates to the number of vehicles, we were trying to address the issue of overcrowding that occurs in some structures. At the same time, we're also trying to, as we always do, respect and protect individuals' property rights and enjoyable use of their property. One thing that we have come to realize, based upon some of the comments we've received, is about OSCs are not all the same. You have some OSC developments where you can have lots as small as 7,000 square feet. You could have other OSC developments where you could have lots at 20,000 square feet or greater, which is just like a normal R20 lot that you would see throughout Cobb County. So with that being the case, there's variation in the way that these OSCs could be designed, and as such, I think it's important for us to recognize that having that 2-car minimum as it relates to these OSC overlay district developments might not be appropriate. So as such, we would suggest striking that language regarding the OSC development and allow the number of vehicles to be as it is in all other zoning classifications, based upon the zoning classification and based upon the size of the house.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
What you're
today?
saying there is that it's the underlying zoning of the OSC that would fall back on, is that correct?
That is correct, sir, because OSCs are really an overlay on top of zoning. So you have an R20 OSC or an
I just wanted to
R30
clarify
OSC,
that. That's what you're saying.
which further defines lot sizes.
Okay. So allow me to bring forward a motion, Commissioners, if I could, and that is to approve the code amendments as recommended by staff to include the following revisions, and that is under Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 2, Section 2-46, to add a 2-42 to the end of 2-42A, a sentence to read at the end of this paragraph, officers by their conduct should avoid the appearance of impropriety. That's to be added, which was not included in the packet. Moving forward to page 16, line 34, Chapter 50, Environment, on line 38, this copy shall be revised to read, "This article shall not apply to any activity otherwise permitted by law, or state or federal law." State or federal. So this permitted by state or federal law is the revision to that. And then further into the recommendations, on page 36 to 36, Article 5, Section D, at the end of line 36, to add a copy that reads, "Subject to district commissioner and county arborist approval." And going back a page, 35, line 5, part of 134 zoning definitions, under section 3, on line 5, deleting the words "including OSC overlay districts." Dana, tell me I've gotten them all.
That is everything I have listed as well, sir.
Thank you.
Second.
Wait a minute, can I have a second for comment?
Second.
Second?
I missed one other question for Dana.
Sure.
134-94.
Yes, sir.
You made a slight change where you said that it would be put on the Board of Commissioners' next available hearing. Do we need to clarify that as a zoning hearing, or?
The reason why we did not put it as a zoning hearing, sir, is because we do not have zoning hearings in January.
Well, that was the follow-on part to my question. So it could be put on a regular meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Because otherwise, they would have to wait until February.
Correct.
Okay.
And Commissioner Burrow reminded me that one of the requests I wanted to ask the Board of Commissioners to indulge us on two other issues concerning code enforcement is that the staff no longer accept anonymous complaints. This obviously is not part of code, part of policy. We've moved along pretty strong in our technology, and so taking anonymous complaints is basically making us deal with issues that ought not to, and that the staff also develop protocols that relates to people that abuse our code enforcement, so that we can deal with some of the realities out in the community associated with those. So those would be with the board's consent. I'd like for Dana to bring those forward for future consideration for us to discuss. Okay, not to be discussed, not to be part, no direction. We're not changing anything, but those are two issues that were brought up recently that we need to address, and I need you to get your team to look at the pros and cons of those two situations. One being the issue of taking anonymous complaints, the other being whether or not a protocol needs to be developed as it relates to folks that might abuse that. Pardon me?
I concur.
Thank you. So with that, we have a motion, we have a second. We had some clarification from Commissioner Ott. As a clerk, are you guys good with where we're at? Thank you. Any other comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Once again, Dana Rock and Roll, good job, buddy, and your team and the community for helping by getting involved in reviewing, critiquing, and commenting and providing us with direction. I think we have a stronger code as a result. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Alrighty. So let's move to tab 10, our first public comment.
There are 5 speakers. The first is Duwana Webster. If you come forward, please.
Hello, my name is Duwana Webster, and I'm from the Six Flags Drive area, and I'm a resident there as well. I'm here to promote a positive partnership as it pertains to the redevelopment in the area on Six Flags Drive. Please communicate the plans to all residents that live in the area, and also we ask that workforce centers be in place in the area. We thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
The next speaker is Edward Hemmett. Please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Commissioner and fellow commissioners, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. My name is Edward Hemmett. I live at 4300 Paper Mill Road. I've been living there for about 15 years. As you can see, that Our driveway is right near the intersection of Woodlawn and Paper Mill. To the right, when I go out in the morning, I work at Kennestone. I have to make a left every morning to get to work. Our neighbor, Jane Schlachter, lives right to the left of us, and for her to get out, make a left as well, also to make a right. The DOT started work on putting a traffic light there. They never notified us of this, said that they had a duty to do so, and never did. All of a sudden, we saw people working there. And we asked them what was going on, and they told us, and so we investigated this further. They claimed that they did a study and that there were 20,000 cars coming through on Paper Mill. There were 4 residents of the community there, including myself. Subsequently, we got a written paper saying that there were just 11,000 cars. Basically, the peak is early in the morning when people are headed from the creek down to Johnson's Ferry. In the evening, people are coming back off of Johnson's Ferry onto Paper Mill, headed west. And for us to get out of our houses and out of our driveways, we're at the mercy of the people at the stop sign. And actually, people are pretty good. You pull up, turn on your left turn signal, and people to the right coming up, they'll see you, they'll stop, and then the people at the stop sign, they'll stop and let you out. You stop at the stop sign, and you get to go. Our concern, and the DOT admitted that this was a valid concern, is that if you have a traffic light, light turns green, people are not going to stop for you. And if somebody does stop, they're going to get rear-ended because the person behind them is not going to be expecting somebody to get out. And we said to them, well, what are we supposed to do? And they said, well, you could just make a right. Well, I guess we could go all the way down to Johnson's Ferry and find a store, a place to turn around and come back. And that doesn't seem quite right. And then they said, well, you'll just be like other people. And that doesn't seem right. And so they admitted that there was not, this was not a good safety issue for us and for potentially for the commuters going through. This is not a high accident area. That intersection has not had an accident in well over a year, and the DOT actually admitted that there was a low incidence of accidents there. They have made no attempt to look at other avenues of controlling Paper Mill, such as the intersection of ACC and Paper Mill, or the light turning onto Paper Mill off of Johnson's Ferry. They were bent on putting a traffic light there with a pole. We asked them specifically, there's a hanging stoplight there, and they said, well, no, you can't have hanging traffic lights. As I was going up to work after meeting them, I went up Lower Roswell, and about every intersection I saw a hanging intersection with traffic lights without poles. And so their arguments were invalid. The neighborhood is concerned. All the neighbors there are concerned. We don't want this to be a major thoroughfare, and we're concerned about our safety and the other commuters' safety. And we feel that the DOT is arrogant. They have no concern for us or our community, and we've gotten no recourse. And in fact, there was just a response that we were supposed to get that was just handed to me, and it's inaccurate, but we've not had a chance to respond because we never received it, as apparently we should have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Guinevere Reed. If you come forward.
Good evening. How are you? I'm Guinevere Reed of MAPC, Mapleton, Austell, Powder Spring Community Coalition, as well as the Powder Spring Community Task Force. I'd like to say greetings to everyone, Cobb County Chair, Manager, and Commissioners, residents, and concerned citizens. Especially Tim Lee, who's my Facebook friend, and we talk sometimes.
We do.
On behalf of the MAPC and the Powder Spring Community Task Force, there will be a family-centered community service organization that will be providing a back-to-school bash this Saturday from 10 to 2. We'd love for you to come. Lisa Cooper's been also very active with us, but we wanted to share that for those who in need of free school supplies and backpacks. And we're having educational workshops as well as the expo. We've been doing it for 15 years, and we're very proud of these efforts, and this is our signature event. We're also having a candidates forum September 24th. We'd love for everyone to participate. It'll be the mayoral and city council, a few members, candidates forum to inform the public of their civic rights, community candidates, as well as to bring their questions and concerns. We meet the fourth Monday of every month, and there have been some concerns regarding the youth. We also would like to Cobb County Commission to consider workforce, job training, life skills, as well as engaging our youth. Thank you so much for the Flex Bus. It's been very helpful. We've been promoting it and advocating for it for a long time, as well as Lisa Cupid, and we really appreciate that, but we need something for the youth to do, you know, and also, as they say, you know, itemize the devil's workshop, and we're very concerned that our youth have nothing to do in Cobb County, in Powder Springs, but it's very hard when you're kind of polarized in a specific area, and we've often had Cobb Work come up with the van and other resources that we provide, but not on a consistent level. And just another issue regarding, there's a lot of programming at the Powder Springs Recreation Center, Ryan Anderson Center, but it's also a financial hardship for some impoverished youth who don't have the opportunity to pay for programming. So if that could be considered part of the agenda for next year or soon, we would greatly appreciate it. And thank you again. Also, we're doing a Toys for Tots celebration in December, and we'd love everyone to come to Ryan Anderson and donate toys and food for needy families. Thank you again.
Thank you, ma'am. Good work.
Next speaker is Kayla Alexander, if you come forward.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kayla Alexander. I'm a Six Flags resident in the Six Flags Drive area. I'm requesting a positive partnership as it pertains to the redevelopment in the Six Flags Drive area. I'm requesting that all residents are notified about the plans in the area. We also request there be assessment of the needs of the residents completed. As a mother of 2 children, I want the best for them. I want to be a part of the changes of the Six Flags Drive community. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Final speaker is Ron Siphon, if you come forward.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Ron Siphon, and a lot's been published since I was here a couple weeks ago talking about the Connect Cobb BRT project, and I want to talk about some of that. First of all, both the MDJ and AJC published the tables in the study that clearly show that building the BRT project will make future traffic congestion worse than if you don't build it. Now, that's what the study says. That's just what it says. I understand that from the last article in the MDJ that maybe Cobb County is going to revise the data to make it make it say that it won't be quite as disastrous as what the current report says. But that's what the report says. So now there are some things that have been mentioned that I didn't mention last time. So, for instance, the study looked at impact on traffic congestion by looking at 5 representative intersections. At first, Cobb County said, well, we're sure that it won't make traffic congestion worse elsewhere, but you don't know what it's going to do elsewhere. You didn't study it. What the study studied was what would happen at 5 representative intersections. MDJ raised a great point. If all these people at all these different stations are going to be crossing at crosswalks, then, and you've got 17,000 people have to cross to the middle of Cobb Parkway to get on, and 17,000 people have to cross again to get off, you got 35,000 people a day walking in Cobb Parkway. If they're crossing on crosswalks, you're going to have to stop traffic a lot of times, maybe thousands of times, certainly many hundreds of times every day that traffic would not have to have been stopped. There is no possible way that in the other places along Cobb Parkway that you can constantly, over and over and over, stop traffic without making trip times longer and traffic congestion worse. I want to point out that previously we've been told that the annual operating and maintenance costs for this project will be $6 to $7 million a year. Now it looks like it's going to be $9 to $10 million a year. That is a huge increase. I mean, you're talking about increasing CCT budget by more than 50% just to luxurify transit in one quarter. And it's a transit project that the only real transportation benefit is a faster trip time for transit riders compared to their current transit ride. You're going to make traffic congestion worse for everybody else in this corridor with this project. There are other ways that you could actually improve transit trip times on Cobb Parkway, improve transit for existing transit riders at a tiny fraction of the cost to implement, a tiny fraction of the cost to operate and maintain, and use some of that extra money that we're not spending on luxurifying transit in one corridor to actually meet some of our other transit needs in other corridors in other parts of Cobb County. So there are other ways to do that. And I just want to sum this up with pointing out that I think one of the biggest flaws in the way this entire project was conceptualized is that this project was designed as a project that would place transit stations in places where it would incentivize development of private property at taxpayer expense. It was not designed to be a good transportation project that would improve overall transportation in Cobb County. There are many transit projects that could actually help not just improve transit, but
Thank you,
utilize
Mr. Seif.
transit.
Thank you. Your time is. Thank you. Your time is
A part of our
thank you. Your
comprehensive
time is
transportation plan.
Thank you. Your time
that would
has
improve overall
expired. Thank you.
transportation for Cobb
Thank
County.
you. Thank you. Your time has expired. I believe that's the end of it, right? So that takes us to tab 11, which is our consent agenda. And Commissioners, if you would allow, I'll bring forward a motion to approve the consent agenda as revised and authorize the execution of necessary documents by the appropriate county personnel. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? I have a comment. Number 10 has been worked out and it's staying on. Thank you. Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Commissioners. That takes us to tab 12, Transportation, Director DeMassimo.
Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners, and County Manager, our first item tonight is to approve a contract with D&H Construction Company, Inc. for drainage system improvements on Liberty Hill Road. Drainage system improvements is an approved component in the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve a contract with D&H Construction Company, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $139,685 for drainage system improvements on Liberty Hill Road. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Thank you. Commissioner Burrow.
Thank you. Yes, I will gladly make a motion to approve.
Motion and second. Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Item 2.
To approve the concept plan for the design of the I-285 multi-use bridge, project number E4210. The I-285 multi-use bridge consists of a new bridge spanning Galleria Drive, I-285, US 41 interchange ramps, and Circle 75 Parkway, connecting the Cobb Galleria Center to future developments in SunTrust Park. Total project length is approximately 1,110 feet. Earlier today, we made a presentation to the Board of Commissioners with the concept plans of the bridge. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve the concept plan for the design of the I-285 multi-use bridge, project number E4210, and authorize the department to proceed with the project.
Commissioners, I'm bringing this forward in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Make one comment. This is we had a good work session this afternoon. I appreciate the progress we're making on the design. Clearly, as we go forward, when we get into nuts and bolts now, we'll need to get more folks engaged. So let's talk about getting that done, okay?
Absolutely, sir.
To include the commissioners and stakeholders and folks of that nature. Commissioner Ott.
Certainly, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. If I could add a request to that in the future, if we're going to, especially on this project, that we not have a vote the night of the same time that we have a presentation at the work session. Typically, we get a presentation of the work session, then we as a board are given the opportunity, and the public is given the opportunity to review. And I think that, Mr. Chairman, that's an important thing to add to the direction to staff.
Well, I think it's important that we understand that that's not always the case, but we'll follow that here. That's fine. I think we can work that into the schedule.
One other thing, too. Ms. Musma, earlier today, I had some questions and concerns about the circulator, and I believe, well, at least in the email that you sent me, if you could go over for the rest of the board the information that you sent, and it was answering my questions.
Be glad to, sir. Earlier today, the question that you asked us was whether or not the circulator component of the bridge, if that had to remain there, or whether or not the circulator could operate at the street level and leave only a pedestrian element for the bridge. We actually went back. We have current studies in the corridor that have already looked at the potential for there to be a dedicated transit lane through that area. Then we went back out this afternoon. Both Scott Giroux, who presented earlier today, and Jim Wilgus, Deputy Director, went out and physically inspected an area again just to reconfirm what we thought that we already understood, which is adding a lane under 285 in that area would be very difficult. Removing any shoulders from that area would create a safety issue. There would also be drainage problems because that's a low point right there. I know you're all familiar with the area. Drainage grates would have to be placed in the travel lanes, which is undesirable. And then in addition, we would be the direct, as we did describe earlier today in that work session presentation, the direct connection, which allows for the most efficient and effective use of the circulator component, would be removed by placing it elsewhere in mixed traffic. So the other thing we did is we looked, for sake of comparison, we estimated that the transit portion of the multi-use bridge, just the transit portion of the span over 285, is probably a little less than $2 million, but somewhere around in that area. And if we left the supports in place for the bridge and built behind the piers, which would not be desirable, using the same cost basis as we have for the multi-use bridge, the addition of dedicated lanes would be at least $4 million. And if we had to reconstruct that interchange, which could probably be, or that bridge, which would probably be likely, that means that it could come up to as much as $10 million. So obviously a much more costly potential there than what we currently have with the pedestrian and circulator elements being together in the bridge.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Burrow.
Thank you. Just for clarification, I just have some comments and I want to make sure are understood. In April of this year, we approved a contract with AECOM to design the bridge.
Yes, ma'am.
Yesterday and today were the first we had seen of the preliminary, I guess, concept of the bridge. Now it's coming back to us to continue to go to get it to the final concept and design that will come back to us before anything is awarded or it goes out to bid for construction, and we'll know the cost and so on and so forth. And with this, the contract that was approved for the design, the $804,000,
Yes, ma'am.
all that is covered under this moving forward tonight for the final design. So there's no additional cost to get to the final design completion.
And as I responded to you earlier today, Commissioner, we don't anticipate any at this time, but just like with other projects that we sometimes have to come back to you with a supplemental agreement because something unanticipated comes up in the
Right.
design, I don't want to tell you that without any clarification or any explanation to it, because it's, something like that certainly could come up. But yes, ma'am, this is to complete the design as it stands today.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Do we have an estimated when they will finish with the final concept design and all that?
We're probably looking sometime around the fall, sir, probably October-ish, September, October.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Will the
Sure.
circulator
Wait a
be?
minute. Let me acknowledge you first. Commissioner Odd.
Along with the, in the October timeframe, because I know some of the other questions earlier today were about the approaches, in particular with the rebuilding of the potential deck at the Galleria. Can the board expect that when the final design comes, that all of that, the approaches and how the pedestrians will get to the bridge, some of those questions that today we were told that when the more extensive design of the bridge gets finished, that when it come back in October, all of that will come at the same time?
We would anticipate that, yes, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner Burrow.
Now, I'm just curious as to the circulator.
We plan to have
Design.
a circulator work session presentation for you at the next BOC work session, which will be August. The August work session will be presenting on where we are in the status of that study.
Okay.
And
Thank
that
you.
one, there'll be an August work session, and then there'll be a September. So you'll have some time in there to continue to look at that.
And you're going to add a bicycle lane on the pedestrian part.
I know that was one of the things that you requested today, and I believe our engineering team heard that and is certainly going to be looking at it, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
all I have.
Thank you. Any other comments, question? We have a motion and a second. Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Next item, please.
To approve a contract with Georgia Development Partners LLC for improvements on Little Willie O Road Sidewalk Phase 2. This is an approved pedestrian improvements project in the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve a contract with Georgia Development Partners LLC in an amount not to exceed $1,442,253.85 for improvements on Little Willie O Road Sidewalk Phase 2.
Sure.
Motion to approve, and Faye, if you could just, it's a rather short section of sidewalk. It's fairly expensive. Is this one of the, I know we have, like, we refer to them as county sidewalks and then contractor sidewalks.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about this? What are the difficulties here that the price is so high?
I don't know the particulars on this one, sir, but I would assume that, like many, this obviously is a contractor sidewalk, not one that we can do. And typically that means that there's additional drainage, particularly drainage needs that have to be built into the project that run the price up substantially.
Okay. And I think
Second.
motion to
Motion and a second. Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Item 4, please.
To approve a consultant services agreement with RS&H Inc. for engineering design services of Windy Ridge Parkway Bridge Pedestrian Improvements Project Number E7520. Windy Ridge Parkway Bridge Pedestrian Improvements is an approved project in the sidewalks component of the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve a consultant services agreement with RS&H Inc. in an amount not to exceed $784,495 for engineering design services of Windy Ridge Parkway Bridge pedestrian improvements.
Commissioner Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to approve. And just a comment about this. I know that there's probably some questions also. I mean, you look at 574 feet, but what's happening in at least the design I've seen, the walk space is actually being widened, which is, a fairly substantial change to the bridge.
It is.
To make more pedestrian space. So that's why this one's a little bit higher.
Absolutely.
Do we have a second? Excuse me. I'm confused.
I'm just waiting for y'all to get done. Call the
I won't
question.
do it either.
Motion carries 4-0. Just for the record, Ott made the motion and Weatherford made the second, okay? Next item, please.
To approve a contract with Baldwin Paving Company, Inc. for construction of White Road at Riverside Parkway, project number E9180. White Road at Riverside Parkway is an approved project in the resurfacing component of the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve a contract with Baldwin Paving Company, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $628,418.33 for construction of White Road at Riverside Parkway, project number E9180.
Thank you. I'll bring this forward in the form of a motion as presented. Is there a second? Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Item 6, please.
To ratify previous action by the county manager authorizing emergency repairs to a segment of Carlsgate Drive and approve a contract with American Contractors Grading and Paving, Inc. for said repairs. Drainage system improvements is an approved component in the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. This road is classified as a local road on the county's major thoroughfare plan. The existing corrugated metal pipe in the vicinity of 4644 Carlsgate Drive had failed. The outfall pipe had deteriorated, causing a sinkhole in the shoulder of the road. We request that the Board of Commissioners ratify previous action by the county manager authorizing emergency repairs to a segment of Carlsgate Drive, approve a contract with American Contractors Grading and Paving, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $103,783.05 for said repairs.
Commissioner Ott?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Next item,
To
please.
approve a utility relocation agreement with Georgia Power Company for preliminary engineering and relocation of facilities on Floyd Road Trail Phase 2, project number D11JO. Floyd Road Trail Phase 2 is an approved project in the multi-use trails component of the 2005 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve a utility relocation agreement with Georgia Power Company in a form substantially similar to the attached and as approved by the County Attorney's Office in an amount not to exceed $119,335 for preliminary engineering and relocation of facilities on Floyd Road Trail Phase 2.
I'll bring this forward in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Next item.
To approve a utility relocation agreement with Georgia Power Company for preliminary engineering and relocation of facilities on Cobb Parkway, US 41, State Route 3 at Windy Hill Road, project number E3030. Cobb Parkway, US 41, State Route 3 at Windy Hill Road is an approved intersection safety and operational improvements project in the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve a utility relocation agreement with Georgia Power Company in a form substantially similar to the attached and as approved by the County Attorney's Office in an amount not to exceed $346,066 for preliminary engineering and relocation of facilities on Cobb Parkway, US 41, State Route 3 at Windy Hill Road.
Commissioner Ott?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Next item.
To approve the procurement of vehicle detection devices for 2 traffic signals as part of a pilot project to evaluate new technology. Traffic signals is an approved project in the traffic management, traffic signal timing, and planning component of the 2011 SPLOST Transportation Improvements Program. Upgrading traffic signal infrastructure is an important element of this project. Vehicle detection at traffic signals is critical to providing the most effective traffic signal timing to minimize vehicular delays. This applies to signals which are isolated in time-of-day coordinated systems and in adaptive timing systems. The department primarily uses inductance loops and video camera systems for vehicle detection. Both technologies are very effective, however, both have benefits and flaws. With advancing technology, the department has explored infrared and radar-based vehicle detection systems to continue to evaluate and identify the most cost-effective and reliable systems. We request that the Board of Commissioners approve the procurement of radar vehicle detection devices for 2 traffic signals at a cost not to exceed $36,550.52 as part of a pilot project to evaluate new technology.
Thank you. Commissioner Weatherford.
I'd like to bring this forward in the form of a motion as presented, sir.
There's a second.
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Director. Tab 13, Public Services Agency. Mr. Cannon.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners, and County Manager. This evening we have 4 items. The first item is for the Board of Commissioners to approve a final closeout supplemental agreement and deductive change order number 1 to the contract with QT Contracting Incorporated, DBA Powers Heating and Air, reducing the contract by $10,000 for a revised total contract amount of $93,582 for construction services related to the redevelopment of Jim Miller Park under the 2011 Park SPLOST program. Ask that you authorize the corresponding transactions and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Item 2.
Second item is for the Board of Commissioners to approve a final closeout supplement agreement and deductive change order number 1 to the contract with Integrated Construction and Nobility Incorporated, reducing the contract by $20,199.90 for a revised total contract amount of $494,245.51 for the construction services related to the redevelopment of the Midway Restroom Building at Jim R. Miller Park under the 2011 Park SPLOST program. Ask that you authorize the corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Item 3, please.
The next item is for the Board of Commissioners to approve a contract with All Star Lighting and Electrical Services in an amount not to exceed $145,290 for the installation of new sports lighting fixtures and related equipment to serve athletic field lighting at Nickajack Park. This comes under the 2011 Park SPLOST program. Ask that you authorize the corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Item 4, please.
The final item is for the Board of Commissioners to approve a final closeout supplemental agreement and deductive change order number 1 to the contract with Multiplex LLC, reducing the contract by $10,638 for a revised total contract amount of $1,100,362 for the construction services related to the redevelopment of Wallace Park. This comes under the 2011 Park SPLOST program, and I ask that you authorize the corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Cannon.
Thank you.
Tab 14, Support Services Agency. Mr. Rita.
Evening, Chairman and
Good
Commissioners.
evening.
County Manager. First item is for the 2011 SPLOST. It's heating and air conditioning, and it's for the DOT administrative offices. Property management contracted with an engineer, Jordan and Scala Engineers. They developed the plans and specs for the HVAC replacement. Purchasing advertised for 4 weeks. We received 1 bid from QT Contracting, doing business as Powers Heating and Air Conditioning. The architect found that bid to be reasonable and responsive. Department recommends the Board of Commissioners approve a contract with QT Contracting, doing business as Powers Heating and Air, in the amount of $240,000 for the 2011 SPLOST program heating, ventilating, and air conditioning project for the Department of Transportation administrative offices, located at 1890 County Services Parkway, Marietta. Authorize the corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Thank you. I'll bring this forward in the form of a motion. Is there a second? Second. Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Next item, please, John.
Last item is similar to the first. It's a 2011 SPLOST project, heating and air conditioning. This one's for the public safety building, the top floor. Jordan and Scala were the engineers. They developed the plans and specs, purchasing advertised for 4 weeks. We received 2 bids from Maxair Mechanical and QT. Department recommends Board of Commissioners approve contract with Maxair Mechanical, the low bidder, in the amount of $156,300 for the 2011 SPLOST heating, ventilating, and air conditioning project for the public safety building located at 185 Roswell Street, Marietta. Authorizes corresponding budget transactions and further authorize the chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Thank you. I'll bring this forward in the form of a motion. Is there a second? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Tab 15 is the Board of Commissioners tab. The first item is the recommendation of the appointment of the Director of Communications. Commissioners, part of my official duty as chairman of the board is to appoint the heads of the departments of county government from a list provided by the county manager and with the consent of a majority of the commission members and the chairman. I am pleased tonight to appoint Sherry Kell as Director of Communications. We had a very rigorous process that was put in place. We received 133 applications. 65 were referred to the initial selection committee. They narrowed it down to 7 applicants for the initial interview. 4 candidates were then interviewed by the county manager and myself and the Board of Commissioners, 3 by the Board of Commissioners. Ms. Kell came out at the top on every single phase of this process. Sherry brings more than 25 years of experience in communications, public, and media relations to the position. She comes highly recommended by Otis Brumby, Jr., editor of the Marietta Daily Journal, Rusty Paul, former state legislator and current mayor of Sandy Springs, and Attorney General Sam Owens, to whom she is was his communications leaders on 2 successful campaigns. Sherry has a long-standing relationship with critical media partners and proven successful experience in public relations, media relations, speech writing, editing, writing, budget development, and management of a full-fledged team. These skills, together with her deep roots at Cobb County residents and her passion for her county, make her the perfect choice to lead and carry forward the vision of the Cobb County Communications Department. As such, Commissioners, I bring forward and ask the Board of Commissioners to approve the appointment of Sherry Kell as Communications Director. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 3-1. Commissioner Ott in opposition. Item 2, Commissioner Ott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the board heard earlier from Dr. Hemmett, there are some concerns by some of the residents that live right along Paper Mill where the proposed light has been recommended by DOT staff. Over the last 2 weeks, as Dr. Hemmett mentioned, DOT staff has been out there, and I've been having conversations with some of the folks. DOT has looked at some alternatives. And basically, this agenda item is to request that the board authorize a delay to allow a little bit more time for the community and DOT to get together and kind of go over the traffic studies. As Dr. Hemmett said, he was just handed some information tonight that they had requested about a week and a half ago. So I'll make a motion to approve item number 2.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
There's a second. Any discussion?
I have some questions, I guess, of DOT, or if they could come back up.
Director DeMassimo?
Mr. Wilgus to come up as well, just because he has met in the field.
Absolutely.
With the individuals that you heard from earlier, or one of the individuals you heard from earlier, so.
Thank you. The confusion is this was approved June the 9th.
Yes, ma'am.
And we were moving forward, and now we've been requested to hold it by, I mean, what led up to the contact with the public, or the information led up to our June 9th approval? I mean, why was all that were all the folks who were affected by this, did we meet with them originally? And is this being done, I know it's a splost item, but is it coming in now because of the water project that's going to be going on in the area? And it may, if it's not done, will it lead to a nightmare of the detour and the traffic involved?
So about approximately, and I'll rely on Jim somewhat for this, about 8 to 9 months ago, Commissioner, We started receiving requests for to look at a traffic signal. Actually, it may even be a little longer ago than that. To look at a traffic signal at that intersection, there were complaints about the operations and the existing traffic starting to become a situation that they thought a signal would help. So citizens from that area requested that we look at a signal. We went out and did a signal warrant study and found that in fact it did meet signal warrants. Of particular note to us was the fact that there were, as you know, I know all of you have talked to us on various occasions about traffic signal requests and warrant studies and all that information, and as you know, there are a number of warrants that we consider. And you don't have to meet all warrants, but there are 3 warrants, volume warrants, that are particularly important to us. This particular signal location or proposed signal location met all 3 volume warrants out of all the warrants that are there. And just to give you some idea of the volumes that we're talking about, at Paper Mill Road, and I think the gentleman who was up here earlier did mention this, that this is a 4-way stop condition, and you've got 11,000, which is a high traffic volume at that area. But the estimate, and you made reference to this, Commissioner Burrell, the detour that is going to go into effect very, very shortly in September with the water project that is going on, the detour that's going to is going to bring 17,200 trips through this area, and we know that that will create not only a highly congested condition that will certainly have people very upset, I would guess. You'll be getting lots of phone calls, I would think, about that condition. But in addition, what will happen is the kind of delays that we're showing there with an always stop, which is the current condition, with the detour in place, we're talking about up to close to 3-minute delays in an AM peak and over 3-minute delays in a PM peak. So what will happen is people will start, the traffic will just start trying to find other places, other ways to get to where they're going, and it will go over onto roads that aren't designed for this kind of traffic at all. Then it starts to create unsafe conditions. So for both the concerns that we have about the heavy congestion that is going to be experienced with the detour, but even before that, those 3 key volume warrants being fully met even without that, and with the kind of delays that we're projecting, and with the kinds of safety concerns that can develop out of something like this, we absolutely highly recommend that the original approval that was given to this signal be continued. In addition, we have met, our team at DOT has been out, and Jim's been a part of this, has been out and met with the citizens in that area. I know there's been at least 3 meetings recently, and we did consider a number of alternatives to how the signal design, the pole design, and so forth could be accomplished to minimize impacts to right-of-way and adjoining property. Drew Ressler was really a key lead person on this. But in order to be able to meet the approach standards and ensure that the signal itself functions and operates appropriately, the design as we currently have it accomplished the best we could do to minimize impacts within existing right-of-way, the best that we could do to ensure that it would be a safe operation, and so forth. Jim,
Okay.
do you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I got one question.
Commissioner Weatherford.
Is my understanding the work has already begun on this?
We had awarded a contract and issued a notice to proceed, and when we were contacted by Commissioner Ott, and because a few of the citizens in that area had contacted him, we asked the contractor to hold until we could meet with the citizens, and we did that, like I said, 3 times.
Commissioner Ott.
Could I have some clarification on the peak? What are considered the peak travel times in the morning and the afternoon?
AM peak is typical AM peak. So 6 to 8. 6 to 9 in the morning, and probably 4 to 6 in the evening. That's a typical AM PM peak.
Okay, well then, how is it that the water project would factor into that? Because the MOU that we have with the Water Authority says that they will only be working from 9 to 4. So it would seem to me, and they've assured us that all lanes will be open from 9 to 4, or not from outside of the 9 to 4. So how is that project going to impact, or how is it going to change the traffic?
Because when you have congestion like that, Commissioner, there's a residual.
Well, no, but the congestion, where is the congestion going to come from if Lower Roswell Road is open up until 9 o'clock in the morning completely with no lane closures, and then at 4 o'clock, they're required by the contract with the Water Authority to have all the lanes open again. So where is this projected congestion going to come from?
I presume, and Jim can answer this further, but my presumption is that it will come from the residual impact of congestion that's going to be occurring with the additional volume, the heavy volumes that are going to be coming to the area. You're going to have backup that's going to overlap into those peak periods anyway.
That's correct. I mean, when you're out there even now, not even during the peak, but just in the middle of the day, there's still a lot of backup at this intersection. And as the detour traffic will add to that, it will make the situation much worse during the day, not just in the peak.
Any other questions?
But the signal warrants, the 3 warrants that we talked about earlier today, aren't those time-based?
They're 8-hour, 4-hour, and peak hour, so it's inclusive of the entire time.
Does the peak hour one, does it meet the warrant without the estimated?
Yes.
Without the estimated,
detour.
without the detour traffic?
The signal meets all the warrants that we specified, including those volume warrants, without the detour.
Okay.
The detour will only further exacerbate it.
So we approved moving forward in this project on June 6th, I believe, right? June 9th. Has anything changed? Is there any new information for the board to consider that would change the recommendation?
No, sir.
What is the professional staff's recommendation as regards to this project, Director?
Recommendation is that we move forward with the installation of the temporary signal, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Hankerson, do you support the staff's recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, earlier when this request came up, it was not to stop the project, but to do a delay and to answer some questions that Commissioner Hart had. We never was intended to stop, and I don't know what the length of that delay is, but it was never asked to not support this signal installation. So it's just up to the timing of when we go or when we don't go. I mean.
So is your recommendation to proceed immediately with the contract as awarded?
It is, sir, because of the time frame of when that detour is going to begin and how degraded the condition will be at that time.
Okay, you support that?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have not, other than the agenda item approved by the board, and until I heard from Commissioner Hart from some of his constituents, I never not supported going on with the signal, but there were some unanswered questions according to Commissioner Hart that he wanted to do and look at the delay.
Okay.
So that's where we are, and but staff thinks that the numbers are there and warrant going on with the signal. So.
Thank you. So basically, if the board approves this agenda item, we are effectively disregarding the professional guidance of our staff and our county manager.
Here we go.
We'll call the question. Motion fails 1-3. Commissioner Ott and yes. Commissioners Lee, Weatherford, and Burrow in opposition. Tab 16, Finance. Mr. Pearson.
See, I didn't see the harm in the delay, but.
This is one item, to accept and allocate additional funding for the Community Service Block Grant Program for funds for the Muslim Industries. I am going to recuse myself and stepped off the dais for this item as my wife is a current employee of Muslim Industries.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Burrow.
Thank you, Vice Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Hankerson. This is why we have put this item on regular. This is to complement an item that was on consent tonight. CSBG was allotted another additional $110,000 of funding for fiscal year 15. And because of the timing involved, it was the decision made to allocate this funding to the recipients that have received these grant funds through the course of 2015. in the same proportion that they've received the original allotment. $7,167.19 would be allocated to Must Ministries, which is why the chairman has recused himself. So this item is to come forward to ask the Board of Commissioners to accept and allocate additional funding for the Community Services Black Program for Must Ministries, which is covered under this separate agenda item. Authorize the necessary budget transactions. Further authorize the Vice Chairman to execute the necessary documents.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Takes us to tab 17, our second public comment. We have none. Tab 18, there's 3 items for appointments that require approval. The first is to approve the appointment of Carl Holtz to the Cobb Douglas Board of Health. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Second item is to approve the appointment of Tom Helms to the Civic Service Board for a 4-year term to expire in 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. The motion carries 4-0. And item 3 is to approve the appointment of Carol Holtz to the Community Service Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Call the question. Motion carries 4-0. Let me just comment real quickly on items 1 and 3. Cobb Douglas Public Board of Health. Carol Holtz, we have appointed her to both that board and the Community Service Board. And by definition, actually, she serves on the Community Service Board by default being a member of the Cobb Douglas Board of Health. I just want to make sure that folks understand that her appointment is to replace Dr. Dan Stevens. Dr. Don Stevens has, boy, he's been on these boards longer than you've been a county manager, hasn't it? For a long, long, long time, and has served our community just wonderfully as a member, and then most recently as a chairman of both of these boards. And he has decided to step aside and retire, and allow a new team to come in, and at least a partly new team to come in and lead those. So I just want to say, and we'll recognize him more later, but I just want to recognize Dr. Dan Stevens and thank him for his service on those 2 boards, and welcome Carol Holtz to the board. She'll be a fine replacement for him. That takes us to tab 19, Communities, Commissioner's Public Address. Commissioner Ott?
The first announcement I have is my assistant went on my behalf to a function by Office Depot where they donate sacks or backpacks for students around the Atlanta area. And they have donated 50 of these sacks to be distributed, which I've made the decision to distribute these at Brumby Elementary. And inside these sacks are pencil cases and some other school supplies as we get ready to start the school year. Second thing, and he won't appreciate it when I say it, because he will tell you it's not about him, and it isn't, but the fact of the matter is, and I think everyone really got an opportunity to see what the Patriot Guard is all about this past week. Commissioner Weatherford is a member of the Patriot Guard, and for those of you that are not familiar with it, they go out when a serviceman or woman is buried or laid to rest, and they line the streets, they ride their motorcycles, they have their vests on with the flags and the patches, and they don't do it for their own recognition. A lot of them do it because many of them are veterans from the Vietnam War, and a lot of them did not necessarily get the recognition that they should have for representing their country. So I just want to publicly thank Commissioner Weatherford on behalf of all the Patriot Guard for the tremendous effort that you all did last week and the effort that you do all the time to recognize our veterans. The next item is earlier today at the work session, we had a presentation on Cobb Commute. It is a web-based application. It's not an application that you would download from the App Store, but it's designed to kind of work similar to Google Maps or Waze which will give traffic information. It'll take the road construction and road closures that are part of each commissioner's Friday updates, and we'll put it onto a map. It will also show traffic speeds. It's going to go live early August. It's been being tested this month. So when it does go live, go ahead and look on each commissioner's Friday update for an opportunity to connect to that. I think you'll find it to be very useful. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the East Cobb Government Center, East Cobb Civic Association is going to be having an information meeting with Glenn Page from the Cobb County Marietta Water Authority about the upcoming project in East Cobb. On August 18th at 6:30 over at the Atlanta Area Council Boy Scout office, which is right across the street from SunTrust Park, there will be the second Powers Ferry Master Plan update for the citizens in the community to give their input. And finally, another recognition that I would like to do, and Chief Crider, he's still here. It turns out, I think we've all known that firefighters are capable of doing just about anything, and it was demonstrated, or we were told about it in a letter that Chief Crider got and shared with me about the B shift at Fire Station number 3 on Terrell Mill Road. Turns out, and I'm just going to read a little bit of the email from the gentleman that sent it to us, just so you kind of get an idea of what firefighters can do on their off time. It says, last Friday evening I came home to find my elderly shepherd had somehow managed to wedge a round marrow bone over his canine teeth and under his lower jaw. It was so thick that I could not see how it might be removed. Needless to say, I was in shock, and he was stressed. I could not budge the bone, and my first thought was, the firemen can do it. They can do anything. So I got in my car. He drove from Windy Hill and 41 all the way over to station number 3 on Terrell Mill Road by the park. And he says there, Lieutenant Jeff Shaw, who he refers to as Jeff Cool, Jeremy Barrett, and Schroeder, surveyed the problem and said that they would do their best. Bottom line is that after about 30 minutes of work, they removed the bone, and dog and owner went home safe. So thanks to the guys at Station 3. That's all I have.
Guys and girls, right?
Yes.
There you go.
Firefighters.
Firefighters. Commissioner Burrow.
I'm ready. Yes, I too want to thank Sprayberry High School, the Board of Education, the City of Marietta, the Cobb Police, Cobb Public Safety, the Sheriff's Office, the Patriot Guard Riders, all the branches of the military, and this wonderful Cobb community for all your support last week during the events for Lance Corporal Skip Wells. It was a rough week, but the community really showed their support for one of our fallen heroes, a local Sprayberry grad. And we ask that you continue to keep his family in your prayers and all of our servicemen and women. In light of the unfortunate incident that happened in District 4 with a fellow commissioner and our police, it's very disappointing when a fellow commissioner comes out with comments about our police force. And I would just like to personally thank the police and all of public safety and let them know that I'm behind them 100% for doing their job and for keeping all of Cobb safe. I appreciate the work you do for us day in and day out and throughout this entire county. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
Also, I have a shout out for our firefighters from the Brackett Road Fire Station. This was addressed to Chief Crider as well. On Sunday, June 21st at about 9:30 a.m., a lady ran a red light and crashed into my car at the corner of Canton Road, Highway 5, and Jamerson Road. She crashed into me so hard my 2012 Kia Sorento was pushed all the way over into Jamerson Road, up against the curve, and the front end was demolished. I live just one intersection south of the crash where Shallowford Road dead ends into Canton Road, so I was not far from home. I don't know which fire station responded nor the name of the fireman who was so kind to me. I think if you can locate the station that responded and check the firemen who were at the scene, I know he will recall the incident. I would really like to send him a big thank you. He was so kind and compassionate to me, I will never forget it. If you can locate the fireman, will you please tell him thank you so much? It was a terrible scene, but by him being there was a blessing to me. We had a lot of heavenly angels watching out for us that day to keep us from being killed, but he was an angel on earth helping me to calm down and relax and ease my hurting. When my car stopped, I got out immediately, checked on my 6-year-old daughter, who was strapped in her car seat in the back seat, to make sure she was okay. At that point, I didn't even realize I was hurt because she was first on my mind. I got her out and she appeared to be okay. I sat on the curb holding her until my husband arrived at the scene within minutes when we called him. He took her away from the scene to his truck, and I collapsed on the ground. After I got to the emergency room, I found I had 3 fractured ribs and a punctured lung. I'm 60 years old and I've never been in that much pain. I was in the hospital for 3.5 days and practically bedridden for 2 weeks after that at home. I meant to write earlier but could hardly sit up to do anything. When I collapsed on the ground at the scene, I was in excruciating pain and could not breathe. I can't breathe. I was rolling back and forth on the ground, trying to find a way to relieve my pain and to be able to breathe. I recall someone telling me, "Ma'am, you need to relax." I don't think he got how much pain I was in. Another person told me to lie still and try not to move. That was impossible also. A wonderful, kind fireman sat down by me. I know he was a fireman because he was fully dressed in a firefighting suit, and as I recall, it was yellow. He asked me very quietly and caring, "If I sit behind you, would it help you to lie back on me?" I said, "Yes, I think that will help." He sat down, opened his legs and arms, and cradled me as I laid backwards. His fire suit was a cushion for me, and I was finally able to relax a little. I was able to breathe better and relax. When he asked if I would like to lie back against him, he said it with such a caring and compassion. I'm crying now as I write this, just thinking about it. I know he will say he was just doing his job, but his care and compassion, I think, saved me. Will you please tell him thank you from the bottom of my heart? That firefighter is Kyle Westhoven, and he is assigned to the Brackett Road Fire Station off Canton Road in District 3. And he recently came to Cobb County in March of this year from Paulding County. So he's a new firefighter. We're glad to have him in the Cobb family, and I will definitely get the message to the constituent with his name so that she can thank him as well. And that's all I have.
Great job. Commissioner Williford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to make a few announcements. One is this Saturday from 10 to 2 at Green Meadows Preserve, which is at Old Hamilton and Dallas Highway. I'll be having a meet and greet as opposed to a town hall meeting. We'll have a couple of tents set up. And one of the tents will have some static displays about what's going on in West Cobb. The other one will be serving free watermelon to anybody that wants to come up. So it'll be a nice, refreshing way to get ready to go back to school. So I'd appreciate anybody that would like to stop by. I'll be happy to talk to you. Also, as the representative from this commission on the Cobb Travel and Tourism Board, I met with them today for our monthly meeting. And one of the things that came out of that meeting was that the Cobb Hotel Council has some issues with a lot of break-ins at all their hotels, specifically along the interstate. And our public safety, Major Patelis, is being proactive in meeting with them and trying to address those issues as far as break-ins and entering autos at all the different hotels around our county. So I appreciate the hard work that they're doing and they will do to address these concerns of the hotels in Cobb County. One of the other things that came up today is at their website, which is travelcobb.org, they have implemented a new software that gathers social media pictures from all over Cobb from tourists. And they have put that up. It's called CrowdRiff, believe it or not. And if you go to their website, It just, it's kind of like Instagram, but it just picks pictures from anybody that visited Cobb, and these are pretty neat pictures. So if you get a chance to take a look at those are pretty nice. And finally, I will echo Commissioner's comments about the community and Lance Corporal Wells. It was a long week for the family, and our county turned out in droves, and it was very humbling, and I was very proud to be a Cobb County Commissioner as well as a Patriot Guard member. So thanks to our public safety personnel that made it a flawless event to honor one of our fallen. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well said as well. My other comments are to, again, welcome Sherry Cal to Cobb County family as our communications director. We're pleased to have her with us. We look forward to her contribution. Second is to remind folks that next Monday is back to school day. Please do what you can to allow a little bit extra time to get to work. We've probably all gotten into the habit of a shorter commute time since school was let out a couple months ago, and if you count on that on Monday, you'll be sorely disappointed, and be late on top of that. So we ask you to be careful, give yourself a little bit of time, and if you pass a big yellow bus that has its warning lights out, you will be ticketed, and ticketed often. So, Mr. County Manager, we wish you well in your personal adventures. We with you in our thoughts and prayers with that event. And is there anything else for this evening? We are adjourned, Commissioners. Thank you.